When you release about half your mid and undercard wrestlers, with your rosters already limited due to travel restrictions and people refusing to work during a pandemic, you're soon going to have to face the question, well, who's going to job to Bobby Lashley this week? And that's when you realise you've got a whole other promotion full of small indie guys to feed him. Eat it up, Bobby! Eat it up! As PW Insider have already reported this week, Matt Riddle is being called up from NXT imminently to the SmackDown roster. Producer Bruce Pritchard had specifically requested Riddle and Raw's AJ Styles for Friday nights, with both Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn choosing not to work right now. Further confirming PW Insider's story, Riddle has now been removed from the NXT banners featured superstars on WWE.com, following his brutal loss to Timothy Thatcher on Wednesday's episode. And Wrestling Observer Radio is reporting Riddle filmed a vignette promo earlier this week to introduce him on SmackDown, which could air as early as tonight's episode. This is likely because of declining TV viewership, which has already seen the introduction of classic Vince McMahon panic move, ignore the brand split, with WWE instating a new, very confusing cross-brand invitational don't call it wildcard rule to bring more star power across both shows. Star power, like King Corbin in the main event, and even more Omni Flair. And as we saw last February with the sudden, totally botched, not even properly cleared by Triple H call-ups of Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Aleister Black and Ricochet, McMahon's next step is raiding the black and gold brand. Fightful is reporting Riddle is actually just one of a mass group of NXT call-ups, or call sideways, or cool downwards, depending on how you value each show, writing, no firm plans have been provided, but they're expected over the next month or so. And WrestleTalk.com's Louis Dangoor can exclusively reveal, because we do exclusives now, don't you know? Another one of those names, Dominik Dijakovic. While Dijakovic hasn't won any championships in NXT, he has had one of the best in-ring rivalries of the USA Network era, an excellent series of big meaty clashes with Keith Lee, which culminated in a losing effort for the North American title at TakeOver Portland in February. He was also part of last November's winning War Games team and was Ring of Honor's Top Prospect Tournament 2015 winner. At 6'7", 270 pounds, he's incredibly athletic for what he can do in the ring. So get ready for lots of rest holds on the main roster. As for who the other call-ups might be alongside Dijakovic and Riddle, the WWE.com NXT banner might provide some clues. Keith Lee is front and center of the new graphic, hopefully meaning he'll be pushed to the top of the card after his standout performances at Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble, where he's flanked by Adam Cole, Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, Gargano and Finn Balor. Noticeably absent in the Spot the Difference game, however, is Shayna Baszler, for obvious reasons as she's been on Raw for months, and the Velveteen Dream, which could either signal a call-up or him being removed from marketing after his recent controversy. Who do you think will be part of the mass NXT roster call-ups? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to people from out of the NXT banner graphic. But the main roster can be a dangerous place, not just because Vince McMahon might suddenly give up on you, but also because of a string of injuries related to Nia Jax. While Jax did spend 2 years in NXT between 2014 and 16, that was her first professional experience of in-ring wrestling. She does have wrestling in her blood, with her being part of the same Samoan family that includes Rock the Dwayne Johnson, but prior to 2014, she was a model, not an indie wrestler, in that crossover period of time when WWE still mostly recruited non-wrestlers for their wrestling developmental system. She made her debut in 2016, just 2 years into the business, and has unfortunately and consistently been involved in multiple injuries. Of course, mistakes happen in wrestling, but very rarely so often all related to one performer. As well as infamously breaking Becky Lynch's face ahead of Survivor Series 2018, she's also injured Ember Moon, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, and others in the last few years. Jax returned in April after a year out with injury herself, ACL tears in both knees, and soon after injured Kairi Sane with a reckless buckle bomb on Raw. And now this week, she's been involved in another in-ring botch. According to Fightful, Raw, Jax whipped Sane into the steel steps outside while taping a match for this coming Monday's Raw, where Kairi's head hit the corner of the stairs, opening her up. The match was paused and medical came out to take care of Kairi Sane, sealing the wound and bandaging her up. We were told that Kairi indicated that she was fine and insisted on finishing up the match. Nia's track record has been a topic of much discussion online over the last few days, but now Dave Meltzer has revealed on Wrestling Observer Radio no one in the company is blaming her, reporting this was not Nia Jax's fault, even though other things have been. Apparently Kairi was in control of her bump and she made it look too good, actually hitting her head on the steps and was knocked silly. She worked herself into a shoot, brother. One source even told Meltzer they thought Sane was knocked out. If true, it seems we might all have jumped to conclusions over Nia's culpability in this specific instance. I know there's a larger history at play here, but let's remember after the events of last weekend that what we say or theorize online, unfortunately, can have very real, tragic consequences. Two of those released to make way for the NXT call-ups were AJ Styles' OC buddies Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and he's revealed on WWE's After the Bell podcast with Corey Graves that this was another factor over why he moved from Raw to SmackDown. Doing something different is good for me. I needed a change. Losing Gallows and Anderson really hurt me. Getting away from Raw helps me get over it. I don't know if I'll get over it, but it helps change the atmosphere around me and to do something different. My whole time on Raw was basically with them. To get away from that and get to SmackDown, where I've had a lot of success, it's a good thing. The SmackDown community! AJ went on to say it affected him so much because he felt responsible for bringing them to WWE from New Japan in the first place, and that he had encouraged them to stay last July when they signed their new multi-year deals. While Styles might feel responsible, Gallows, Anderson, and the reported hundreds of other personnel released by WWE is management's burden to bear. As Wrestling Observer Radio has revealed, there was another way. The approach New Japan took, where all of the highest paid guys in Bushi Road, all the board of directors, they all agreed to take pay cuts ranging from 15% to 95%, and in doing so, they are cutting 0 jobs. While Gallows and Anderson have teased a return to New Japan, another released WWE wrestler has made their latest hint they'll be joining AEW. Woo woo way. My brother and Mike Tyson's personal baby oil rubber, Cody Rhodes, became the inaugural TNT champion at Saturday's Double or Nothing, and making like he's John Cena in 2015, he then declared on Dynamite that he'll defend it in an open challenge every week. And in the darkness, someone answered, woo, woo, woo. The former Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, replied to Cody, open challenge, eyes emoji. And it seemed like he actually watched the episode of Dynamite himself, tweeting about the Britt Baker segment, watch out, being on stage in a wheelchair can be dangerous. I understood that reference. As part of their fortnightly batch tapings, AEW recorded next week's episodes of Dynamite and Dark yesterday, where a few details have come out. Fightful is reporting that the newly debuted The Revival, then The Revolt, now FTR, were at the tapings but recorded a promo rather than wrestling a match. And Rey Fenix wasn't at the tapings at all after suffering an injury on last week's Dynamite and being pulled from Double or Nothing's Casino ladder match. It was also feared Private Party's Mark Quinn might also have injured himself in the opening match of Wednesday's show. But PW Insider has confirmed this was just a genius red herring work to get Matt Hardy out of the ring for the post-match debut of FTR. I called it. I totally called it on our podcast review. I'm a wrestling god. Once AEW can move out of Jacksonville for touring shows once again, they might not just stick to televised episodes though, as according to Jim Ross on Wrestling Observer Live, AEW had house shows penciled into the schedule before the virus as a way to help improve their younger talent. And now those might soon be able to include wrestlers from all around the world, as last week the United States Acting Secretary of Homeland Security signed an order that will allow foreign professional athletes who compete in professional sporting events organised by certain leagues into the country to work. While WWE weren't mentioned in the list, we all know how essential they are, so Canadian Bobby Roode will be back on SmackDown in no time. To finish the week on some uplifting news, the Wyatt family has added its latest member, as Bray Wyatt and JoJo have debuted their new child, Hyrie Von Rotunda, to the world. That's not the only big debut this weekend, as our new cowboy-themed No Rolls Barred one-shot will be going live on Parts Unknown this Sunday, which is available for Patreon backers right now. No Rolls Barred is our wrestling Dungeons & Dragons game that is actually my favourite thing we make right now. Click the P on screen to watch that immediately, and also go over to Parts Unknown's YouTube channel, because Adam Blompier has his brand new fantasy booking video, How Adam would book Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey from last year. And CM Punk has teased his wrestling return is to be determined. Click the video beneath that for more. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.